Daf Ayin Amud Aleph 23 lines down. Mali Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Asatir Yosef. Hanizu Diatmi regarding orphans' money. Hechi Abdin. How should we manage it? Marlev, he says, Matvin Allah Bedin. Abedin will take care of it. Davin Allah Huzudan, they'll give them money as needed. Marlev Basalia Karna, but that's the case, then they'll eventually run out of capital. Marlev Mar Hechi Abi, what do you do? Marlev, but Kina Gabra the Itle Dahava Pricha. I find a guy who has gold. We buy gold from him as a security. And we give the orphan money as an investment via iska. Which is a near profit, far from loss. The profits are used for their expenses. But not a certain item, like a car. Because that's considered a deposit. And the owner can come and the guy could take it away because maybe it didn't belong to the wealthy man. That makes sense. If you can find a guy who has gold, great. So if he doesn't have the orphan, there's nobody who has gold nearby. The orphans are not going to have any more money left. Right? We look for a guy who's stable property, real estate guy, and he's trustworthy, and listens to the Torah. He never had to get hiding and never to go to galut. We give it to the orphans and the orphans' money in court, saying that he has to invest it for them at a high profit, low loss risk. No Mishnah Amud Bet. En mekablim tzon barzel Israel. You cannot accept tzon barzel from a Jew and a prophet. Right? We said tzon barzel like a item that stays the value, because the financing guy basically only can gain and not lose. That's considered a beat. If not, should beat. You could do it from a goy. You could borrow and lend to a goy with interest. Regarding a ger toshav. Ger toshav is a goy that accepted himself shiva mitzvot b'nei Noach and is living amongst the Jews. Ger toshav. Maver Yisrael ma'otav shakum. A Jew can also lend the Gentiles money to a fellow Jew. Midat akum, as long as the goy knows. Avalo midat Yisrael, but you can't use a goy's money for via interest money loan to go to another Jew, even though it belongs to the goy. It's a big problem with leases. If you're transferring a lease from another person, I'm not sure how that works. The Gemara says, does that mean that the capital of a tzon barzel stands in possession of the recipient? Because that's why you can't do it. That's why it's considered a beat. But I mean, someone accepts tzon barzel animals from a goy. But babies are katur from bechor. So we see that the tzon barzel belongs to the goy. Otherwise, you'd be chayav in bechor if it belonged to you. The Mishnah Berachot is referring to the goy took upon himself risks and the accidents and everything he'll be responsible for. Therefore, he still owns it. And our Mishnah is referring you did not, and that's why it belongs to the recipient. If the guy took himself upon himself the risks, it's not considered tzon barzel. The tzon barzel is referring to the case where there is no risk. But additionally, at the time I say, the next part of the Braita says, Mishnah says, you can accept tzon barzel from a goy. If that's the case, that we're talking about a case where whether or not, where the difference is whether or not the guy, it's acceptance of accidents, and that should be the variable mentioned in the Mishnah. How? But when do we say that you can not do tzon barzel with the goy where the guy did not take upon himself the risk? But if he did take upon the risk, that's mutar. So we see that since the Mishnah did not say, that's something else to change. So, okay. The Mishnah, both Mishnah are no risks taken upon themselves. How come Bechorot works? The reason why the babies are considered patur, because if the guy does not pay back the money for the investment to the goy, the guy can take his animals. If he can't find any animal, he'll take the babies that are Bechorot. And since he has access to the babies, is considered the like a partial owner of a goy to the animals. Since he has access to anytime the goy has access to the animals, patur from bechor. Next, pasuk says, "Marbe hono beneshech v'tarbit." The one who increases his wealth by rebit, will be poor. It will be given to the poor. So the Gemara says, damim. What does it mean that he'll favor the poor? King Shapur would took tax the Jews and gave it to the Goyim. No, Even interest taken from a goy, you'll be poor. The Gemara says, the pasuk says, "You to the goy you shall do tashich." My tashich, lav tishol. Sounds like you can take interest from a goy. I mean, doraita. I said, look, lo tashich means you could pay him interest. Lo sagi la machi. What do you mean? We use a mitzvah. You have to pay interest to a goy. Gemara says, no, la fuke achich de lo. You know, it means you can't pay interest to your Jewish brother, but you may do it to the goy. Gemara says, achich regarding a Jewish brother, behedikta, but you know, we know you can't do that. Al achicha lo tashich. You can't pay interest to your brother. So why do you need the pasuk? Gemara says, la'avor la be'asev lo taseh. The reason is because give you another isur, right? We had one isur. One isur is to isur aseh, to only charge pay a goy, but not non-Jew, not a Jew. And the other one is don't charge a Jew interest. The Beishan said you could borrow and lend an interest. Also applies to a ger toshav. So you see that you can take interest from a goy against what we just said. The Gemara says, not referring to a case, the Jew can take interest just to make a livelihood, but not extra. Amar Ravina says, they are allowed to lend Gentiles interest because how come we don't lend the goyim interest? Shema yomod ma'asav. If you deal with them, you might learn from their deeds. But a Tamid Chacham won't become tempted and won't learn from them. When you lend money to my people, to the poor with you, which means if, let's say, a poor person and a goy, Jewish poor person and a goy both ask for a loan, Ami Kodem, your Jewish people goes first. Ani Ashir, poor and rich, Ani Kodem, the poor person goes first. Poor persons of your own family and poor persons of the city, Aniyacha Kodem, and the poor person of your family takes first. The poor person of your own city and poor person of another city, the poor person of the city goes first. Amar Mor, Ami Venochri, Ami Kodem. We said, oh, the Hasu is going to teach you that if it's the Jew and a goy, Jew goes first. Pshita, of course. No. Even if the case is you could loan a goy with interest and a Jew non-interest, you still have to do the Jew. You can't take yourself. You can't go via the interest route to make money. Let's come see. Let's see the blindness of those who lend them interest. Person, if someone would call his friend the Rasha, the guy would come down and try to attack him, be very upset. Yet people who are making interest documents, maybe they bring witnesses and a scribe, pen and ink, they'll sign and write. This guy went on interest to a Jew is going against God, and he probably does it. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon Lazar Omer, Komish yesh lo ma'al money mother below written lends of interest. Allah to Omer, Kaspolun tam beneshech, v'shohad anaki lokach, or say ela lo yimot leolam. Whoever does this basically will be blessed and will never suffer from poorness. Allah Mata we see from here, Shakom whoever lends of interest will eventually become poor. We see we see people who do not lend an interest and still they are still poor. The Gemara says, Mariazar halalu. Those who lend with interest, those who do not lend with interest and become poor have a chance of getting back up. But if those who lend with interest will fall down and never come back up. What does that a wicked person can swallow a person who's more tzaddik than himself. But he cannot touch someone who's a tzaddik gamor. Meaning, if someone's a wicked person trying to chase someone, he's having success, it could work against the people, but not a tzaddik gamor. Tanya, Rabbi Omer, he has problems with two pesukim. Pay attention. Rabbi Dan says that a ger tzedek, which means a regular ger, by the halacha of selling a eved, the ger toshav, in the case of a ger toshav, the shiva mitzvah noach ger, not a real Jew, by regarding the beat, any of them who I don't understand what's going on. Yani, he has a problem with both pesukim. We're going to go through it now. Ger tzedek, the first one, by a regular ger, by selling a servant, the pasuk says, if your brother becomes poor and he's sold to you, what does that mean? He can't, not only to you, he can't sell himself but even to a Jewish ger. Not only to a ger tzedek, even a ger toshav, a non-Jewish guy who's doing Shiva Mesen Noach. Shneimar Pasuk says Leger Toshav. So it says Mishpachat Ger says also to the family of the Ger. Zen Hanachri is referring to a goy. Because Shomer Ole'aker even to idol. Zen Emker Lavut Kachim Asma. This means a person can be a slave to an idol. The guy is sold to serve to clean up after an idol. Amar Mor V'lo Lecha Ela Leger. The Breta says that not only to you, but he can even sell to a ger. Shneimar lager. The ger kani eved ivri, but a ger can't get an eved ivri. The meaning of stira en hager nikna eved ivri, and isha beger kuni an eved. A ger can't buy an eved ivri, a Jewish slave, and a woman and a ger also can't acquire a eved ivri. So how can that be? Why does the pasuk need to exclude that or include that? Gemara said, "Ger lo nikna eved ivri." A ger can't acquire eved ivri. How do we know? Bishab el mishpacha b'inyan. Pasuk says when the guy gets redeemed, he has to return to his family. V'haleka, a ger doesn't have. And a woman can't buy her an eved ivri because it's not proper for her to own one. Because we'll explain soon. Ger nami regarding a regular ger also can't buy one. Gemiri is a halacha. They make nekani that only someone who's able to buy one can sell himself as one. Since the ger can't buy one, he can't sell himself. So we see that why did the Quran need to mention that a ger, by the case of an eved ivri, he's not in the parsha. He can't do it. Means the ger can't acquire an eved ivri and be like a Jew. What does that mean? We'll explain in a second. He can acquire an eved ivri but be like a Gentile, like a goy. The Tanya Breda says, an eved ivri who had his ear pierced to be a slave until Yovel. Someone who sold as a to goy. The halacha is a regular one, a regular eved ivri, whose ear is pierced. Who the owner the master will die. He will be transferred over to the master's children. Eved ivri, who is sold to a ger, will not be transferred over. Marmor be'en isha veger konin eved ivri. A woman and a ger can't be acquired eved ivri. Nemad lo karashbag. Sounds like it's against Rashbag. The Tanya Breta says, Isha kunata shalchot, a woman can buy a maidservant, ve'eno kunata avedim, but can't buy a slave. Rashbag says, Af kunata avedim, he can. Against, we just said he can't. I'm feeling no, you can prove you know Rashbag. Come be eved ivri regarding a woman to buy an eved, that's not eved ivri. Come be eved kanani, but Rabbi Shimon Gamliel would allow a woman to own a eved kanani, a non-Jewish slave. Eved ivri, it's an because an eved ivri will be quiet if he does something wrong with her. Because the problem is you have yachud all the time, the person in your house. So whenever we're worried about her owning it because he'll sin with her and he'll keep quiet. Eved Kanani Paritzla, but an Eved Kanani, a non-Jewish guy, won't care. He'll talk, he'll blabber, and therefore she's scared. That's why she's able to own one. An almana, a widow, should not own a dog because she might be drawn to it. And she also should not host a rabbi's talmid. Makes sense. She can't hold a talmid chacham sniela because he'll also be quiet at the every. But a dog, but if it's going to cling to her because they have relations, she won't do it. So therefore, she should be able to own the dog. Where it says, if she would throw it some meat, it would hold on to her. Since she throw meat, it's jumping on her. It's not a proof. She's not afraid necessarily to own a dog that will cling to her if she's having relations with it, because she can easily distract people by saying, "Oh, I have food on me." Next, that was all by the Eved Ivri with the Ger Tzedek. Now, what about Ger Toshav? What's the question that he had? The Pasuk says, if your brother shall become poor and he falters, you shall help him out. Ger Toshav, whether it's a Ger or a Ger Toshav, live with you. Don't take rebit. Be fair from Hashem. Let him live with you. The minister says, you can clearly allow yourself to do it by Ger Toshav. It says, don't take from him. It doesn't say don't take from them, which means it only says from him, which is referring to a regular Jew, Israel. But a Ger Toshav, you can help him with a loan and you may charge him interest. Amen.